This podcast is brought to you by Kanna Beast Media, which offers marketing, e-commerce, photography, and videography services to help take your brand to the next level. What's up, guys? Welcome to Sex and Violence with Rebel Girl. We are back. It's been a long layoff, but I'm so happy to be here with you guys and in a very, very, very special place, the Kanna Beast Studio, with my first guest, Matt Barrozo. Damn it. No, Barrozo. That's so bad. So white, girl.
We'll practice rolling the R's, but you did. It's good. Barrozo. Some people say Barrozo. So
no, Barrozo. That's really bad. Matt's our first guest, but Matt, you are the owner of Kanna Beast. You're the reason I'm here in the studio. Thank you so much for having me and for allowing me to do my podcast in your awesome studio. You guys can't see it, but it looks amazing. There's multiple rooms. There's an arcade. His merch is here. There's a telephone booth in the back, this vintage booth. It looks so cool. Thank you. I just want to say thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm super grateful. I mean, it took a lot of blood, sweat, and tears for the team to get to where we're at today. And I'm, just grateful for everybody that's a part of it, and grateful for you, especially. We've been talking about doing this for like over a year now. So super excited that the day has come, and, I just couldn't be more grateful to have you as a friend and to be able to build this with you together.
Yeah, it came together and it looks amazing. And for the people who don't know Kanna Beast, could you tell a little bit about the brand, the company, the lifestyle, everything?
Sure. So Kanna Beast, we started back in 2017. And, I've always been in the cannabis space, and I've always had a passion for fitness. And then, I would use cannabis, like CBD and cannabis, to help out with like recovery and stuff like that. And then finally I just decided to kind of start this little project, and, one of the main driving factors too was that I was giving CBD to my grandma at the time when she had cancer. So she was like on a basket full of pills and taking all the stuff, doing through chemo and stuff. And then I would always try to give her like either cannabis or CBD or something. And she'd be like, she's super old school, right? Like, no, what is that? That's marijuana. No, I don't want to take that. So like, finally I just like told her one day, I was like, here, take these vitamins, right? And I lied to her, sorry, grandma. I lied to her, told her it was just some vitamins. And then she called me like a week later, saying like, hey, do you have more of those vitamins? Like, I'm eating now, and like, I'm, getting, sleeping. So she got some comfort, God rest her soul. She did pass eventually, but, like, she had some comfort in her final days. And like, if I can just kind of give that back to people that, have gone through, are going through, or, have gone through the same thing, like, that's all worth it for me,
I love that story. Yeah. So there's the CBD supplements, like originating from your grandma, but you also have other supplements, not just CBD?
Yeah. So we have like, all the staples, right? So we have gummies, soft gels, we have a topical salve too, all like CBD. We also have D8, D9 gummies too.
I did it. What? I feel like every time I figure out, all right, this is what's out there, then something else comes out. What are D8 and D9 gummies?
So D8 is a Delta 8 cannabinoid from hemp. So it's THC, right, derived from hemp. So there's two sister plants. There's marijuana and there's hemp, right? So marijuana is everything that, is under scheduled under the state law, right? So you have to go to the dispensary, you give them your ID and all that other stuff. Where hemp is regulated under the Farm Act, right? And you can ship that, nationwide. And, the hemp plants higher naturally in CBD and lower levels in THC. But when you process it and extract it, you can take out the THC from it, and you can turn it into, D8 and D9 gummies, right? So those will get you like pretty much just as lit as, taking full on marijuana. Right?
So this is just like a loophole.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I mean, I didn't write the laws, right?
No, you just are figuring out a way to make them work for you.
Yeah, exactly. So, I didn't write the laws, but as long as, you have your right paperwork and COAs for everything, like, it's all legal beagle, and we were able to create some D8 and D9 gummies, and people love it, and gets the job done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. I definitely had the gummies. They're very good. I've actually had the protein too.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with you guys for a while.
We're gonna have to bring that protein back at some point.
Yeah.
I've definitely got some requests from some of our old school crew for sure.
So now that you have the Kanna Beast studio, besides Sex and Violence with Rebel Girl, what are other endeavors that you plan on doing in studio?
We're working on like a big content push right now. So we're really just focusing on like the lifestyle and showing our audience like, hey, this is really what we do. It's not just like a concept, like a conceptual thing of just like, like cannabis and fitness, right? Like we really focus on recovery. We do this, we have our gym here, right? So like we'll consume, we'll train.
Shout out Apex.
Shout out Travis at
Travis Mike.
exactly. Yeah, kicking all our ass every single day, keeping us honest. But yeah, so we're just really showing that like this is what we do. We have our our apparel too, and showcasing the lifestyle. So it's just fun. It's really just fun.
Yeah, I want you to start your own podcast.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, well, that's what I wanted to hear you say. I'm like, he's not gonna say it. I'm gonna put you on the spot.
Yes.
You gotta say it out loud. Matt. I know you want that, so say it out loud.
We gotta declare this, putting it out in the universe. We will be starting our own podcast as well.
Awesome.
And yeah, I'm excited. Thank you for doing it. Thank you for
That's what friends do. They hold you accountable, right?
Yes, definitely holding me accountable. So thank you.
Yeah. And since we're talking about how everything's coming together, the man behind the camera, guys, you won't see him today, but someday you'll see him. I got to give a shout out to Lance. Lance, what's your last name? David. Lance David. We just compiled this team, and it's so nice to have people helping me with this endeavor. A lot of you listeners or viewers now who have been listening to the podcast for the last couple of years, I was a one-woman show. I had DJ Zoll help and a couple editors, but I'm just so looking forward to working with Kanna Beast Matt and Lance. You guys can't see him behind the camera.
Shout out to Lance.
He's got some mad skills that you guys are about to see. I guess when you guys see this, you'll see Lance's handiwork.
He's a surgeon when it comes to videography and editing and design. So yeah, super grateful to have him be part of the team too. So we're gonna be making some really cool stuff for you guys, and super excited. Can't wait.
Yeah, it actually feels really good. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. This is my podcast. I'm always authentic. I'm always real. Matt and Lance saw I had a little bit of anxiety before, but this feels good. It feels good to be in the studio, back in front of the microphone, and just putting it all out there.
Yeah.
It's kind of therapeutic in a way.
Oh, for sure. There's power in the share. Always power in the share. Because, there's people going through that same anxiety and feeling pressure and not sure if they want to make that leap to go do something that they've always said they wanted to do. So
yeah, and podcasting is so, I guess there's people out there who get on the microphone or in front of the camera and they're fake, but I feel like it's so hard to be fake, and I feel like I put my whole life, actually I feel like I should filter myself sometimes, but I have no filter. I share everything with you guys, probably too much, but it's more so of like, okay, like putting your stuff out there. It's just being vulnerable, and it's fucking hard, especially coming from, for me, like such a tough girl mentality with MMA and with social weakness. And now I'm like, all right, like I am in a softer part of my life where it's okay.
We talked about that, right? And like, I think one thing that, that I love about you is that you're always like willing to die for your fans, and I like that. That's one thing that I love and respect about you. And when I would, we would be talking, and you would share your anxiety around like, I don't know if the fans are gonna like this and this and that, and I'm like, fans are gonna love you no matter what, right? And it's like, sure, they're you're not gonna please everybody, right? But like the people that truly love you and care about you, they're gonna be there for you no matter what, and them getting to see the vulnerable side of you too, right? Like that's the stuff that people, love and appreciate, because it humanizes us, right? Because a lot of people are thinking like, oh, like they put you up on this pedestal, right? Where they're like, oh damn, you know, rebel girl. There's no way that she could ever feel the same amount of anxiety as me, you know? Like,
Not true, guys.
I'm sure there's a bunch of like, you know, I'm sure like, you know, fans can chime in on this, right? But I'm sure there's a bunch of young women out there that have watched you throughout your career and, you know, loved and appreciated the things that you've done, and like maybe felt like insecure inside and felt like, man, there's probably no way that Ashlee could ever feel that way. So like by you sharing that, like there's power behind that, dude.
It's funny you say that, because I know you're right. I know you're right. And that's what makes it, you know, even if I'm feeling some kind of way about it, I know that it can be inspiring to other people. And the other day I was watching Joe Rogan, and Kevin James was on. Did you watch that by any chance?
I haven't.
Okay. It was a couple weeks ago. And Kevin James is Kevin James, right? And
Comedian, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Actor. He's in all the Adam Sandler movies.
Yeah.
I love Adam Sandler, so I like Kevin James.
King of Queens.
Yeah, King of
Shout
Queens.
out,
Yeah,
shout out.
he's
King
great.
of Queens.
So he's talking to Joe, and it's just like, you know, I talked to someone else about it. I won't say who, and they were like, yeah, I had to turn it off because of he was so weak and this and that. And I was like, you know, and that's one viewpoint. But when I watched it, his, you know, obvious insecurities and worries and concerns at his superstar level made me feel so comfortable. Like, oh, fuck. Okay. You know, I know I'm, you know, different aesthetically and different, you know, sport and, you know, everything's like different, but it just, to me, meant someone who's reached the highest level, you know, in their field and superstardom really still feels this way. So let's press on, you know, like just because you feel that way doesn't mean it has to stop you. So I was like, thank you, Kevin James, you chubby, chubby guy.
Dude, and it's like, that guy is like always moving with such confidence.
Yeah.
Right. Like the way he dances, the way that he speaks. And it's like, there's no way that guy could ever feel insecure. And then so by him like sharing that, oh, bro, there's so many people that get value out of that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to listen to that now.
And then, like I said, you know, I talked to someone else and they were like, oh, I had to turn it off because he was, you know, and then in my mind, I'm like, oh, like, you're never going to please everybody. But it does always pop into my head that, yeah, there's going to be one side where people are inspired and find comfort and or appreciate it. And then on the other side, they're like, you weak asshole, you know, like, they're like, oh, if you're going to be on the microphone, why even talk like that? You know, like, I'm like, and I just got to turn my brain off and not think about those people.
And most of the time, the people that are sharing that, you know, that are like, most of the people most of the time, the people that are like judging, right, and saying like, oh, this guy's weak, you know, blah, blah, blah. It's like, they're just projecting that because they are so insecure about their own things that they have to feel the need to attack somebody else and make them feel, you know, like anytime, especially like celebrities, right? Like anytime like a celebrity has like a little slip up or something, people that like just fucking hate themselves want to just be like, oh yeah, see, I told you, they fell, blah, 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 you know?
So I was watching Instagram and I scrolled. Perfect example of that is poor Taylor Swift. She's rocking it in her concert. And there's a tiny like 3-second clip where she's walking down the stage and I guess she had a boogie, you know, like what if she's human? And she like casually like wiped her hand, you know, she's like dancing and singing. And then someone catches her kind of like down here with her hand being like shaking her boogie off, you know, but it's like, what was this woman? Shake it She did. She flicked it off, but and it was like a snot stream too. But it was like, okay, so this superstar is doing her thing, being successful, tiny little thing, and someone zooms in on that one fucking tiny little thing and makes a post about it and blue. And I'm like,
That's insane.
people are fucking sad, you know, like just stop. Like,
I know.
so as long as I'm not putting content like that out there, I think I'm okay.
But hey, you know, the flip side of that is that I'm sure the Swifties are going to see that, and if somebody caught that, they might even be able to sell that on eBay.
Swiftie, that's what they call them?
The Swifties, yeah.
That's cute.
I got 2 daughters, so I'm very.
Oh, really? Okay.
One's a major Taylor Swift fan, so road trips are like nothing but Taylor Swift songs. Finally, you're, you know, sitting there driving like, and then finally I'm like, shake it off, shake it off.
I don't mind for the music. I like it.
Yeah, but man, that's crazy that people critique someone like that. But I believe it, man.
Yeah, and I've been procrastinating jumping back on the microphone and being in front of the camera, a couple different reasons. And I'm like, wow, like I cannot let my worry about what people are gonna say or think or write or fucking post, deter me from,
Your greatness.
I don't know about greatness,
Come
but
on.
like just creating. I love interviewing people. I'm not one of those people who's like, I love to be on the mic. I just want to talk to you. It's like I like the conversation, and because I'm honestly curious, I think about almost all my guests. I think I've had one person I can think of who I was like, this stinker, but most of the time
It's gonna happen.
yeah, I'm thoroughly, curious and excited about the people that I have on. And I just want to keep, doing that and spotlighting, especially the people in my field of MMA.
Yeah.
Like you said before, I feel like people just have this image of a cage fighter.
Yeah.
It's usually very similar, like not so smart, not so sensitive, just kind of a meathead.
Is that really what most people think? I mean, I don't know. I guess because I've been working alongside, professional athletes and fighters for so long that like I got to see there's so many smart, professional athletes where like I'm like, dude, you're way smarter than me, and you're in the cage risking your life, like, you know what I'm saying?
Well, that's what I mean. It's like I feel like, people hear educated or eloquent fighters speak and they're like, whoa. And I'm like, what do you mean, whoa?
Yeah.
I could, and, write you a paragraph, like I can do two things, but, sometimes get judged based on the sport that we do. It is literally, two people getting into a cage, locked in a cage and punching their heads off. But, I love podcasting because you sit this savage athlete down and then you break down all these layers.
Yeah.
And then you get to connect and you're like, oh my God, I'm exactly like this savage athlete, which
Yeah.
can be so exciting, right? It's like, wow, I'm capable of that. Or I'm, like I'm similar to this person who has done such great things that I don't think that I could ever do. But then now I'm like, oh, maybe I can do them because I'm so similar to this person.
100%. 100%. There's power in that, and sharing and humanizing these fighters where you're just like, dang, dude, there's no way like the dude's such a savage, right? And then seeing like the vulnerable side of that person, or like them sharing like how, the other skill sets that they have, right? It just like makes fans fall in love with them even more.
Yeah. And I know a lot of fighters don't like to talk about the mental part that they go through, because especially while you're an active fighter, you don't want to be projecting like insecurities or any kind of doubts, right? You're like, dude, I'm a fucking warrior. I'm going to war. You're going to lose, you're projecting this alpha-ness, because you have to really,
Yeah.
And if you don't feel that way, you got to fake it till you make it, it's just,
Yeah.
you kind of be like, well, I don't know if I'm going to win this fight, it's like, dude, it's like smelling blood in the water for your opponent,
Yeah.
So you're like almost like fake in a way, but then it's like if you show your true feelings, it's seen as weakness a little bit. So I feel like me as an athlete who's out of the sport and not actively preparing for war,
Sure.
it's easier to be more vulnerable. And, also the more we do it as athletes, I feel like, okay, maybe everybody will catch on and kind of show their vulnerability, but it's a double-edged sword, you
that
don't want to
makes
show
sense.
it while you're preparing for war. Like, oh,
Yeah,
that mental case. Oh, I'm going to have this fight in the bag.
Yeah, being in funny camp. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Like what it sounds like is like so what you're saying is if you're in fight camp, right, and you're preparing for, either a set date or a fight, like the last thing you want to do is share like your mental.
Not to the
well-being,
world. Well, I don't think I would share, I've got a upcoming fight a couple weeks away, and then I put on social media that I'm doubting myself in any sense, like even though it's a natural process, I don't think that I don't know. It's just, I don't know. Did you ever read that book, The Art of War? I didn't read it, but I feel like the modern version would be like, do not go on social media and project, like, it's like, no, like I'm a fucking warrior. This is, like, I don't know, some kind of like mental, I mean, we all do mental gymnastics to get inside that cage, especially if we're all battling with injuries, family, personal stuff, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
But you do mental gymnastics to tell yourself that there's no fucking way you're going to lose. you know? And so it's like, if you like say on a podcast, like, oh, I feel like, you know what I mean? Does it make sense what I'm saying?
But, you know, I've seen this is, and you, I would love to hear your take on this, but like the guys like Muhammad Ali that would like act kind of crazy, like in interviews and like publicly act crazy and stuff like that, where people were like questioning his mental health before a fight, and then like just totally crush it and like kill in his fight, you know?
That's what I'm saying. I think like, you know, a lot of, you know, even probably the greats, they didn't even believe it, but you like say it and you project it and you put it into the universe, and then, you know, like, but like, I don't think any of the greats would be like, well, I'm a little nervous deep down, you know, like they're putting on this like great, you know, facade. And, you know, even if they, you know, don't mean it just a little bit, it's like you build it up, you know, for the fans, for your opponent, for yourself sometimes.
Have you ever gotten into that? Like ever like in a fight camp, like kind of use that like mental warfare tactic? Like, because
Like
it sounds like
shit-talking,
it sounds like it's kind of like a tactic, right? Like where you get people to kind of question your mental well-being, and then like, because
like craziness.
yeah, like okay, like I'm asking because like someone like Brian Garcia, right? Like just like he recently fought, you know, won his fight, but like leading up to the fight, people are like questioning his mental health
Because of what he was posting on social media?
just because of all the stuff he was posting on social media. So it's like, how much of that do you think is like real, and how much of that is
Like it's tactic?
yeah, just a tactic?
I mean, I feel like the way, I mean, who knows? It could be either, right? Because the way that fighters are, unfortunately, we take a lot of head damage, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's like, I think a lot of fighters who post crazy stuff is because they're crazy, you know? But then on the other end, you know, maybe it is, you know, posting this stuff just to create a hype, because the way that social media rules the world nowadays, it's like, you know, you can cultivate the way people think about you, even if you're acting and feeling completely opposite. But what you post, you know what I mean, is like, you know, it's your little public, you know, personal PR page that you can just, you know, make whatever. And so I think it could be either way, right? It could be a really crazy fighter, or it could be someone who just wants to create the illusion of craziness.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, man. That's I guess.
I think we all know certain fighters, we won't name names, that if they post something crazy, you're like, that guy's lost his marbles, you know? But then there's some other, maybe like, like Ryan Garcia, you know, younger boxer who hasn't been crazy historically, starts to do, what did he do? I don't know. I don't pay.
I don't know. You know, if you just even watch some of his content that he posts, like, you know, like he'll publicly, like he'll talk about it on there too. Like, oh, you guys thought I was crazy, this and that. But, you know, I don't know.
And he's trolling all his fans, like trolling the internet just to get people to talk about it.
But must be, yeah. I mean, got me shit, because I'm over here like, damn, I don't know. Is he gonna win that fight? Like, he seems a little crazy. He's not making weight. Oh, he's pounding a beer at his weigh-in, and then like goes and, you know.
So it's working, you know. Like either he's doing it for, I mean, whatever he's doing, whatever reason he's got your attention, right?
Right.
So yeah.
Right. So that's why I asked. I was like, oh, I wonder how many fighters out there actually using that as like a real tactic to just gain more media hype.
I don't know. I love Sam Alvey's page. Have you seen his page lately?
I don't know.
Sam's really good at, you know, when like you take a piece of content that's already out there and then you cut it and you got your own 2 cents to it.
Oh yeah.
Like he'll like kind of, you know, splice something up and then do his own little, you know, 2 cents.
Yeah.
And his page blew up recently. I've been all over Europe with him doing tours.
Oh, very cool.
For the military, yeah. And he was doing ukulele, and I remember he was showing me TikTok and, you know, like teaching me how to use it like a couple years ago when we were touring. And then I looked at his page the other day and it just blew up, and it was because he did all this cool little splice content where it's like other people's stuff, or
like taking like viral pieces, or
kind of,
like...
yeah, taking viral pieces and then making them his a little bit.
Yeah,
you gotta check his page out.
Okay. I'm gonna have to check it
at
out.
Sam Alvey, guys.
Okay, at Sam Alvey.
And he's actually, you know, obviously a former UFC fighter, lots of accolades, but I recently saw that he was doing karate combat.
Oh, nice.
And I think he got the belt.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Have you ever been to one of those?
I have not, but it looks so fun.
They look fun.
So fun.
Yeah, they look fun.
Is Boss Rutan?
Yeah, Boss Rutan. I think GSP too is part of that.
Yeah, what a crew.
Yeah.
It looks fun.
Yeah, there's some samurais over there for sure.
I like how they have the green screen and
Yeah.
yeah.
It looks fun. What's the other organization that you're commenting for right now too?
Oh, Up Next Fighting.
Up Next, yeah. So is there Shout out Up Next. Yeah. So what's up next for them?
Up next, it's July 6th. There's, it's a big summer show coming up. I'm not going to be working this, but you guys should attend. I believe it's at the Commerce Casino. It might be at Burbank, but that's the next show.
That should be fun.
July 6th.
We got I think we got a fight too here in the gym coming up for Blake.
Oh, it's the 27th. He's fighting for Lights Out.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be fun.
I believe that's what he said. And I know it's probably, oh no, Long Beach, he said. That's in Long Beach.
Okay.
Yeah. Blake DeCourcy?
Yeah, I think Travis and I talked about going, so we'll have to Blake the Snake.
Blake the Snake.
Blake the Snakes. Shout out to Blake the Snake.
Yeah.
Got a fight coming up.
Get him on the podcast.
Yeah, 100%.
He's so young. Nothing like talking to a 20-year-old to make you feel young.
Dude, the fighters now, like the young fighters, like what's your take on that? Because like I feel like a lot of them have been trained like the young fighters that we're seeing now. Some of them have been training MMA since like they were 6, right? So they're coming like an up and coming fighter, but they have like these insane skills, and I'm just like so impressed with it.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. I think it's very cool to have such skilled young fighters. It shows you how far the sport has come. It used to be everybody had one background and one thing, and then you pick and pull from all the other disciplines and put your game together. But that would be like your bread and butter, right? And now you just see like freestyle fighter, freestyle MMA fighter, MMA fighter. I'm like, you're just an MMA fighter? Like you just started out with MMA? Like, and then you see little kids doing pancreation at 6, and that's, I think, the only thing that I'm not okay with is kids hitting to the head. I feel like pancreation is really important up until I don't even know what the right age to start getting hit in the head is, but
yeah, that's true. But then then you got like kids playing football, right? Like in these little leagues and like getting rocked,
Yeah, that's true.
But I mean, there's also studies behind that too, where it's like the whole CTE thing, and it's scary stuff. But yeah, I totally agree. Like kids getting hit in the head, like not good. Let's with that.
My old coach used to say that too, Eugene Jackson. He used to always be like, MMA is not that bad. Football players are taking hits to their knees and their necks, and I'm like you're saying that, but now I think about it, I'm like, yeah, what we know about CTE, and you can't find out until, that's the scariest part too. Like now I can talk about it as someone who's like not actively competing. CTE is so scary. You can't even diagnose it until after you're dead.
I know.
That's
crazy. And then it's like, and then you have like friends that are fighters, and you're just like, I feel like you got CTE, dude. Like you're emitting signs.
I always joke around. I'm like, I smoke weed, so maybe it's because of that. But I do feel like I've progressively gotten more and more forgetful. Like, little things. But
I think that's just age, though. I think as we age, it's like I'm like, oh shit, my keys. I think before I leave the house, I probably go back in like 3-4 times. Like, oh, forgot my keys. Oh, forgot my bag. Oh, forgot my glasses. Oh.
But are you smoking?
Not in the morning.
Oh, okay.
When I get into work a little bit, but not as soon as I leave the house.
No, I used to, when things were like really bad with drinking, I would have wine in my car driving. It was so bad. And now I'm like, okay, I think the worst I am is like before my morning workout, like I like to smoke.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, you've become a really big stoner if you're smoking before your first morning workout.
But bro, there's so many benefits to that, like getting your body loose, right?
It's so great.
Your mind right? Like even runners, like they call it runner's high, but like there's a book.
I don't think that's what they're talking about. I think it's a different high.
That's what they meant. But no, there's a book. I forget the guy's name, but it's titled Runner's High, and it's about like this running triathlons and marathons, and like how this guy noticed a trend at a lot of the marathons where like he looked at the trash can, it was like filled with like cannabis wrappers, like gummy wrappers or whatever, and like people were like just getting high before they would go run a marathon. And I think a lot of people would there's that stigma too, right, of like people think that if you consume cannabis, then you're a lazy stoner. No one ever thinks that like a professional athlete like yourself consumes cannabis and then goes fucking trains their ass off doing something hardcore, right? So yeah, I mean that's like that stigma that I think needs to be shattered.
Yeah, you're right. And I remember, because July will be 5 years sober for me, and before that,
Good for you. Happy birthday.
Thanks. It's on my real birthday too. But no, before that it was, I just didn't smoke. And I remember when I was fighting and I saw Nate Diaz, and the Diaz brothers really, and they were smoking all the time and doing triathlons, boxing, competing still. And that was when I started thinking about it. But I'm like, no, I'll never be that person.
Yeah.
I'll never be that person. And now I'm like, I understand what Nick and Nate Diaz were doing.
Dude,
and
put
then I'm like,
on the map.
then I'm like, such a stoner. I'm like, oh yeah, Diaz brothers.
Yeah. Dude, shout out
But it
to
makes
Diaz
so much
brothers.
sense now when I'm on a really long run or just zoned out and, I smoked before a workout and I just feel so much more in tune with my body and focused. And I don't know. It's like a different kind of pre-workout where, all the scoops make you tingly and it's like, that was one kind of way to like get yourself ready for a workout, I guess, if that's what you need. But smoking for me is like a way to like, I don't know, just zone out. And
Well, cannabis, so cannabis has like medical benefits too, right? So like one of the things that cannabis does is it induces vasodilation. Mm-hmm. So when you're working out, right, and you consume cannabis in your, before your workout, like it'll increase better blood flow, right? So that's why like you get that better focus and like you feel better. You don't really get those jitters, right? And it's just like you get a better pump too if you're lifting weights. So that's why you feel that way when you're consuming cannabis before a workout.
Makes sense. Yeah. Running, lifting, jiu-jitsu even.
Yeah.
Hard to focus when coach is teaching.
Dude,
rolling is good.
Oh, bro, anything but a rolling, like either 10th Planet or anywhere else, like you in the parking lot, just like weed clouds right before a session. Everyone's rolling around just like red-eyed and smiling, trying to choke each other out.
Culture, weed is big in the jiu-jitsu culture, I think.
100%.
What other sports is it big in?
So we're running, jiu-jitsu. I mean, I feel like it's just always been big for professional athletes before, but they would just keep it under wraps. Like, football players, basketball players, like they don't.
I feel like you have to be like I would never smoke and go strike. I feel like my reflexes are, you have to be like a black belt level smoker. So smoke and then go spar. Like,
that is true.
And I do know people who do that. Crazy fools, but and then they just perform so great, and you're like, okay, well, good for you. You found something that works for you. But I feel like my hand-eye coordination gets a little slower, so that's why I can run, zone out.
Yeah, I mean, like everybody's different, right? Like everyone reacts to things differently.
Yeah.
When it comes, especially weed, like it hits everybody. Edibles hit people different. Like I'll take an edible and I'll be like gone, right? And I'll feel it like after even sleeping. And then some people like will take 1,000 milligrams of edibles and be like chilling.
Yeah. Actually, recently got into psilocybin mushrooms.
Oh yes.
Shout out to Argos. They are a gummy. Actually, they make other stuff recently too, but it's in my fridge. I'm a little scared because.
They make psilocybin gummies, or
they make psilocybin gummies, small little microdoses, and they were. I remember like a year or so ago, they were like very like I couldn't feel it, so I took like two. I'm like okay, it's good. And then recently they came out with a new formula, and my partner brought some home, and he didn't tell me that there was a new formula, and so I did what I always do, was take two, and I was at home, and then he came home and he was, he's like, yeah, did you try those gummies? And I was like, yeah, they felt strong. He's like, oh yeah, Anthony told me to tell you that they changed the formula. I'm like, I can tell.
Like I can taste colors.
But there's still like little microdoses, but just one. But it's kind of like with smoking where it's like, I can still train and I feel just relaxed and focused and
Yeah. Microdosing is the next big thing, dude. Like that's like what they're going to be putting on the ballot for like legalization, and there's a lot of lobbyists and like advocates for it that are just talking about how many benefits it has, like just medically and mental health benefits. It gives people. So
Yeah, I'm on board.
I'm on board. Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Shout out. Yeah, microdosing is I'm definitely on board with that for sure.
One thing I don't know about, but I feel like it's along the same lines, and it's probably maybe going to get legalized too for medicinal uses, is ketamine. And I don't really know shit about ketamine, but I know that they're using it for therapeutical uses, which is beautiful. I think that I'm into talk therapy myself. It's great. And then if you can combine that with some kind of either psilocybin or ketamine, like to, seems like allow people to really like open up and get in touch with things that might be like blocked.
Yeah.
I don't exactly know what it's about, but I'm like, oh, that's...
Yeah, I had a friend that was working at a center for ketamine treatments, and when he told me about it, I was like, what? That's insane. Like, okay, so I'm just thinking like this backyard boogie type, situation going on, but I mean, it was covered through insurance and all kinds of stuff. So when I heard that, I was like, oh damn, like this is a real thing that they're doing now for like real ketamine treatments and like helping people with their mental health. So there's
an addiction too.
Yeah.
For drugs and alcohol.
Ketamine treatments for people with addiction. Wow.
Seems kind of, like booze for alcoholics, shots for alcoholics.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know I can't speak on it. I don't know how it works, but I like that they're doing things to figure out how to help people.
Yeah.
With their issues and their trauma.
Yeah. 100%. That's what it's all about. For sure. Man.
I've been really, really enjoying, working over here at Apex, and I feel like it's been 4 years now that
Since you guys started training?
over the pandemic.
That's right.
Yeah.
COVID. That was when actually we met.
Yeah. So, this studio, guys, is attached to our gym, which is, like
Yeah.
all I really want to do is smoke weed and work out. So it's like, yeah. And now podcast. But yeah, we met Travis, my partner, and I over the pandemic in 2020, and we were getting ready for a fight.
That's right.
The lockdown happened. Everything closed down. We were in London, came back, tried to stay in shape, but everything was closed.
That's right.
So we're doing all these like beach workouts, and he opened the gym during lockdown, and it was just great. And then, back to fighting, right? And then now, fast forward a couple years, like I'm not actively training for a fight. So it's so cool to be in the gym with Travis and everyone else. And I feel like such a bro, but it's like I feel like I'm like getting so much stronger, and I'm seeing so much strength and gains.
Oh, for sure.
Because I'm not in fight camp, and I can actually just train, pull back when I need to, and it's like it's.
Were you cutting a lot of weight during fights?
Yeah, I mean, I've been all over for weight class. I started at 145, and then I went to 35s bantamweight, and I did 2 or 3 flyweight fights. I think just 2. Oh yeah, and then the third one was the pandemic fight where I was gonna make weight but didn't get to. So if I was cutting to bantamweight, I'd probably cut about 20 pounds. Not so bad. And then if I was cutting to flyweight, that one hurt.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. And so I usually walk around like a little over 150, but right now I got on the scale the other day. I know. I got on the scale the other day, and your girl is walking.
Let's get a little closer to the mic. 163. 160. Hey.
Yeah, I was like, oh man.
Solid. Hey, but thick is in right now.
Thick is in.
So thick is in, and it looks good. So shout out to you for working hard, because it looks good. It looks really good.
Thank you. It's so nice just to go over there and work out with all the girls and not have to pull back because I have a fight coming up, or go to jiu-jitsu and then pull something. It's been nice.
Yeah, we got a solid crew of girls in here. They're the power lifters, man. They're so strong.
It makes me feel like a weenie. I'm like, oh.
Dude, I know. It's funny because these walls are thin. So like every time, like I can tell like who's in there PRing, because I can hear like boom, like smashing weights, and they hear like yeah. And I'm like, oh, okay, Ali just hit her PR, and that's great. Oh, great. Okay, so good for her. I'm gonna have to tell her that later.
Yeah, it's good. I get in my little zone in there too, and I'm a grunter.
Yes. I don't think I've heard you yet.
No.
Through the walls.
No.
You're like more of a silent grunter.
No, he's like, now 100 pull-ups. I'm like,
Yeah. Pushing us to be better. Pushing us to be better.
yeah. I can't wait for more of the beach workouts.
Yeah. I think we should be starting that like sometime this month, actually. I think towards the end of the month he has one scheduled. I gotta figure that out. We'll be posting that for sure.
Yeah.
And then paddleboard workouts. We got our paddleboard workouts.
Surfing is coming up.
Surfing's coming up.
I like water stuff, but it's so exhausting. I feel like when you go out surfing, it's like you're done for the day.
Yeah.
I know, some people surf in the morning, get energized. I'm like,
It's such great
paddle
cardio.
out. I'm like, okay, take a nap for the day.
Dude, it's such great cardio. It's such great cardio.
Yeah, it's energizing too. I'm sure the water and being out in the ocean.
So hold on, I was just thinking about this, and like I know we touched on this earlier about sobriety, but it's been how many years now?
July 9th is my birthday. It'll be 5 years.
5 years.
I know.
Crazy. Good for you. So I went to AA recently.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. So I was at an AA meeting, just to kind of keep my checks and balances.
Yeah.
And they were calling out. They were asking like, okay, who's been sober, 10 days, blah blah blah, and then like it got up to 3 years. Then I just raised my hand, and then everyone's like, oh great, and they started like singing happy birthday. And I was like, oh, thanks guys. They're like, yeah, like that's great, man, happy birthday. And I'm like I was like, birthday? And they're like, yeah, your sober birthday, like this is, we're singing your birthday. I'm like, oh damn, like that's cool. Like
It's been 3 years. Congrats.
yeah, thanks, I appreciate that. So for you, I mean, going on 5 years now, like what is like what's some of like the biggest changes that you've seen?
Oh man, that's such a loaded question. Not a loaded question. It's how would I put that into words? Because it's it's not tangible, And it's like it's just how I feel.
Yeah.
So mushy. I hear it in my head. I'm like, okay, here we go. No, it's like the biggest thing is self-love,
Yeah.
I think. And, you don't really know. I didn't know how much you don't love yourself until you are clear-headed and are thinking straight, which if you were on the level that I was never.
Yeah.
So, you get clear-headed and then you realize how you feel about yourself, your real self, and it's harsh, and then when you start creating good habits and practicing, the lifestyle that you truly want, and you start respecting yourself, and you realize somewhere along the way, for me, it was a year in, which is so sad. I'll never forget when I looked at my partner and I started getting teary-eyed, and I was like, whoa, like this is the first time in my life where I realized like I truly love myself. And I know I was like, oh, here we go. I was gonna get mushy, but it was just like, it was like, oh damn, like there's that phrase, how can you love another if you don't love yourself, right? And it's so corny, but it's true. And then there's a lot of people out there, myself included, that you just go, oh, like, oh yeah, of course I love myself, of course. But then when you get sober and you really ask yourself and you get honest and real and take a hard look at yourself and how you're living, and you're like, oh, I don't love everything.
Yeah.
But then you make a change, and it's not at first, and just gradually over time, you realize that, okay, now I live a life I can be proud of. I'm walking the line, or I'm, really acting as if, I was a role model or whatever it is, and so for me, it was the biggest change was the self-love, because when you love yourself, I think your whole life changes. You don't just go through the motions. You just, you're in touch with what you really want and why you're doing things. I don't know. It's just, it's so good, and I always like to tell people that like, just hang in there. Cause like when you get sober initially, you're like, okay, things are going to get better. And then they don't always get better.
Yeah. And they're like, damn, this sucks. I thought things were going to get better when I got sober.
Now
like,
it's just sucky and I'm not drunk. What the fuck? At least I could be drunk.
I know. Like, it's like I numb myself and get drunk. And I totally get that.
Yeah. And it's hard. It's hard to find happiness with just raw dog in life, you know. it's it's very, very hard to just be like, oh, I got to do this without any. I mean, and then, you know, obviously we are California sober,
Yeah.
which thank you. You know, because I feel if marijuana helps you, you know, not drink, why not? Some people would say like, oh, okay, you're choosing one addiction over the other. And even though I do smoke a lot of weed, it's not an addiction. It's not something that was fucking up my life, you know, or, you know, interrupting relationships or just causing, you know, unhappiness. And it's actually doing the opposite. It's benefiting. It's strengthening my relationships, you know.
You're able to get like present and be authentic.
And the other day, shout out Alandria, she was like, I think, stoner talk, but she was like, I think smoking with your partner is a love language. I was like, oh, it is. The end of the day, or, you know, we're both just agitated and we smoke a joint together, relax, calm down. It's like, it's a nice little practice that we have that, you know, it's connects us, gets us clear, mellows us out. Like, it's so beautiful. If you have a couple drinks with your partner, someone says the wrong thing, things could get feisty, you know?
I haven't been there before. I haven't had a glass shattering in my own house like that before.
So, so I think with getting sober, the self-love is the biggest thing. And, you know, it's crazy how productive I was as an alcoholic.
Yeah.
I look back now, I'm like, oh, okay, I was a functional alcoholic. I got shit done.
Agreed, yeah.
But then when you stop drinking, you're like, oh my God, I can take over the world now. You just feel.
It's like a superpower.
Yeah, you're like, okay, now it's fucking on. You know, like if I accomplished that much with, you know, being a boozer, now I can really accomplish things. And that was like, that like hope is great. That's like a strong power that comes, you know, at some point in your sobriety where you realize like, okay, you've given up something, but you're actually getting so much more.
Yeah.
You got to stop looking at it like, oh, okay, I'm giving up partying or social events or that little buzz or, you know, like liquid courage or whatever it is that makes you feel like you need it.
Yeah. And for me too, like when I was drinking, it was like, I was also what I can, right, a functioning alcoholic, right? Like I could work, I could get shit done, and then I would fucking, on the weekends, I would party hard, and then weekends turn into like, oh, well, you know, we can get drunk on a Tuesday. We can turn up on a Tuesday. And then it was like, oh, okay, Wing Wednesday, and then I was like Thirsty Thursday, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
And of course you're going to drink all day Sunday because it's brunch, and
you don't know about Margarita Monday?
Oh, Margarita Monday too. Like, sometimes, you know. So, but yeah, dude, it was like every day just drunk all the time. And then I was like, okay, well, now, and then drinking would lead to like, okay, well, let's do other stuff too, right? Let's keep this party going. How are we going to drink all night? And then how are we going to stay up, you know, keep going if we didn't have other things to party off of? So then once it got to that point where it was like, I couldn't even have a drink without it needing to also have those other enhancers with it. Then I was like, okay, like there's something going on here, you know, like I gotta tone this down. And then getting sober, that first year, right, of being sober is always like, shit, like this sucks, party, you know, life is boring, or you know, you take on another vice, right? Like so I started working out like crazy.
Oh yeah.
Right. got jacked my first year.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, a lot of us do that.
Yeah, so you know, and then like, but you know, I was hanging out I was in Austin, Texas, and I was hanging out with shout out to Jeff Meadows from Black Sheep. You know, he was Black Sheep Boxing over there in Austin, Texas. You know, I had the pleasure of having a conversation with him, and he was talking to me about drinking, and you know, he was like, you know, a lot of times like we look at alcohol as like, alcohol was the problem, and it's like that's actually not true. Alcohol was the solution. We're the problem, right?
Yeah.
And I used to have this like fucking selfish saying of like, oh, it's not other people, or it's not me that has a drinking problem, it's other people that have a problem with my drinking.
Yeah.
Right. So, but you know, going back to it, it's like his point was that like we're the problem. We're not right with ourselves, and that's what, you know, that's where the issue lies, and alcohol is just a solution to that. So, you know, when we're facing hurt, pain, stress, anxiety, we run to alcohol to numb ourselves so that way we don't have to feel, right? So, I mean, I was just like, it's such a profound thing when he said that to me, and I'm like, yeah, you're right. And then it's like, whatever next thing that you're going to jump to, okay, I'm not drinking alcohol anymore. So what's the next thing? Oh, okay, I'm going to work out. And then it's like, you're working out all the time and running away from your problems and not focusing on the things that you should be focusing on, right?
I was literally running 8 miles a day, like running from my issues, like running. That I'll never forget that first year, because I was the best shape. And I've been a professional athlete. Yeah, I've been a professional athlete my whole life, my whole adult life, and running like so much. I was started getting addicted to F45.
Oh, okay.
And that's when me and my partner like first got together, and I was so skinny and I had no boobies at the time, like just running my ass off literally, and I remember thinking at one point, because the light turns on, right, where you see what you're doing finally, you're not just getting jacked, like you're escaping,
right?
And you don't want to take accountability for the real issues. And I therapy is so bittersweet, right, where it's like, okay, you can get sober, but then the bittersweet thing is that you have to face all the shit that you were drowning away. And you're like, oh fuck. And it's like that's the point where you have to make a decision, like, are you strong enough to get through the fucked up shit? And for some of us there's more than others, right? It's like, it's not just one thing, it's like layers and layers and layers that you need to
for every level there's another devil,
and you got to take accountability for each one of those, and then you got to figure out how do you heal from all that. And it's just a lot of shit. You're like, okay, I'll still have to adult, I still have to have a relationship, I still have to go to work, I still have, and it's like,
and I got to heal my inner child.
I have to heal my inner child too. Like, I can't, nobody got time for this. Like, I thought this was gonna make me sad. Yeah, but it's it's just like working out. It's like what you put in is what you're gonna get out, and I believe that. And like the 5-year mark is really awesome. I was explaining to somebody the other day how. Because people who just find out that you're sober, I don't know if this still happens to you, they'll be like, oh, is it okay if I have a drink around you? And I'm like, yeah, bro, totally chill, But some people, I don't know, I guess they're like, oh no, they're at that point where they're not comfortable. I would never say that, even if I was uncomfortable, I'm always like, it's good, it's fine, but my friend asked me that, and it was so cool to be like, yeah, I'm at this point now where I can go to a bar or someone can offer me a drink and it doesn't look appealing at all. I'm not over here like, but it took time. It took time, and it took, learning all these hard lessons, and, not just.
How was it like recreating fun, right? Because that was definitely a big process for me, where it's like, okay, we're going to go hang out with friends. Everyone's going to be drinking, right? Everyone's going to be pressuring you to drink. And then I was like, okay, once I got past that point of like, being able to say no, which was cool, then it was like, okay, well, how do I have fun now?
Well, for me, and I think a lot of people too, it's unfortunate. One of the downfalls of getting sober, one of the bummers, is you lose friends.
Yeah,
it's just part of the healing process. It's and as you get older, I'm going to be 37 next month. As you get older, you realize you're going to lose friends regardless, because if you're growing in your life, I think you should be trying to cultivate people that you want to be around, not just allowing people in your life for shits and giggles. It's like you should start allowing people in your life based on what they bring to the table, not due to history, really, right? And that was hard for me, because if you're like a ride or die person, a lot of times you're like, no, this is my fucking homie for life, and it's like, is that homie bringing good shit to you? What do they reciprocate? The love, whatever it is, right?
Totally.
And so when you get sober, you realize there's a lot of people and friends in your life that you were hanging out with that only really fun when you're drinking. And so I lost, whatever, fell away from certain people in my life. And when I realized that I wasn't having fun with those people because that's what they wanted to do, I started hanging out with different, more like-minded people, and then I started having fun. Hey friends, this is Ashlee Rebel Girl Evans Smith, and I've got something that's going to change your game. If you're like me and like to push your limits, then Kanna Beast has your back. Their CBD line is perfect for soothing sore muscles, aiding your recovery, and keeping you in the fight longer. And their clothing line, it's not just apparel. It's performance gear, designed to move with you. Use code Ashlee on thekannabeast.com, Kanna with a K, for exclusive discounts. relax naturally, and live passionately with Kanna Beast.
Yeah, it's the same for me. For having that gratitude of like, alcohol was like you numb yourself, right? And it was like try to escape the world, and being like sober and hyper present to everything, right? Then I really realized like how selfish I was being, right? And like treating the people around me, dude.
Yeah.
People that like truly cared about me, and people that like I hurt along the way, like I had to take ownership of all my bullshit, I had to, like, it took a long, hard look in the mirror and go, all right, dude, like, let's get right with all the, right all your wrongs, and then I started doing a lot of like personal development classes and, courses and coaching and stuff like that. And really just, getting right, and communication courses too. That was key for my sobriety and my personal development.
What kind of communication courses do you take?
So I took my first one was introduced through some friends of mine, and it was called Landmark Communication. You ever heard of it? But,
So it's a course that helps you, communicate better?
yeah. So, and I'm thinking how they first sold me on it, my friends, right? Like they told me like, hey, you should take this course. It'll help you with your business, right? And then I was like, okay, cool, sweet. And so like I signed up. It's a weekend thing, 2 days. And then I started, as soon as I got in, like I'm walking in and all of a sudden like there's somebody crying, like there's like 100 people in the room. This is pre-COVID.
Oh, fuck.
So it's 100 people in a room, and then there's somebody standing on stage with a microphone on, and they're like crying and sobbing there. And I'm like, oh no, this isn't for me. I'm like, no, fuck that. And then like, so like I'm about to walk out, and then like someone's like, no, you should stay. So it's like, all right, I guess. And then so once I started really sitting there, I gained like perspective through all the shares, right?
Yeah.
We talked about this earlier, like there's power in the share, right? So like everybody going up there, sharing their story, getting vulnerable, right? Like there was power behind that, because it let people know like either, wow, that I'm just like that, or someone's story may be so powerful, you're like thinking, you know what, my life's not that bad.
Yeah.
Like my life is not that bad. Like, and there was a story of this woman shared, and it was so sad and crazy. It was like she was saying that her dad, she lost her dad, right? And she's talking about how one of the last times she saw him was when she was literally kidnapped, and it was by the cartel, and the cartel was like, hey, we're gonna let you go back, but in exchange for your dad. And so she said that she was in the van driving, and her dad, and then so like they took the blindfold off of her, and then she left the van, and the last image she had of her dad was like him looking at her and walking into the van, like to take her place, so she was having all these feelings about like blaming herself, like she's the one that should have died, she's the one. And as a dad, like I would do anything if someone took my kids hostage and I had no choice but to like take their place. In a fucking heartbeat, I would take their place. But it just, her sharing that story, it was like one of those things where it was so powerful, so emotional, not a dry eye in the fucking room, right? Everybody's crying, and like you took a second to just kind of look at your life and assess like, okay, maybe things aren't that bad, right? Things could always be worse, right? And even for her too, like one of the things that she said when I had a private conversation with her, she was like, you know what, like as much as like this was a really hard thing for me, she also was like, things could have been worse for me too, right? Like she could have been the one that like, whatever, God forbid, right? But it's just, there's power in the share, and just doing things like that like give you such perspective,
Yeah. And I think you're right. I think that's what I think I miss about AA is the shares. Because it's very hard to just casually meet someone and then start this very deep, intense personal conversation, and it's not like we wear a badge of like, oh, 5 years sober, really, like, oh, me too, but so I think AA, the seminars, that kind of stuff. And then podcasts. Podcasts are so great, right? It's like you scroll. Oh, I like this person. And it's like, boom, share. Oh, wow.
And they relate. And then like, I mean, and whenever I hear like a good podcast, I'm always sharing, right? Like with my friends and like saying, hey dude, you should listen to this. Like this is what I got out of it. Right. And like, I mean, it's giving that away. Like there was another thing that I got from one of my coaching sessions was like, you got to give away what you came to get in life, right? Like if there's something that you want in life, you got to give that away. Like if you want to receive love, you got to give love in order to get it back. Right. And, when I was sitting in the AA class, I'm sitting there and like, obviously, I've already reached my sobriety and I'm hearing other people like struggling and talking about how they're, just freshly like a day sober or maybe not even sober. Right. Talking about how they're just like, some of them were even still drunk in there, and, I thought it was, as I was sitting there, I was thinking like, I have to share, and like, we're sitting here and there's cameras on, like I'm fine. I'm not sweating. I'm chilling. Right. Like, but in there for some reason I was sweating so hard, like, and I was like, the lights are off and like it's, so they really make it more comfortable for you to share. But like, I couldn't do it for the life of me. And it wasn't until like, I went back the second time around, like literally the next night. And I was like, okay, I'm going to fucking share. Like, I'm going to share. I'm going to talk. And then I had that thought pop up in my mind. It's like, okay, dude, like, give it away, right? Like, someone shared with you and, like, gave their love to you and, like, shared was vulnerable with you in order to get to where I am today, right? So, like, someone may be going through that in that same room, for sure. So I shared and I felt so much better and I was fucking super sweaty. But it was like, there was so much, it felt like an elephant was lifted off of my chest after I shared and like, got to, and then afterwards, everyone kind of came up to me and was like, hey man, thank you so much. That was awesome. And it was like, it was really great to receive, Yeah.
I love that about the program too, how it's, that's one of the foundations, right? It's like just the gratitude and then, helping others in their sobriety, and it's really not that hard. Like literally you can just talk about yourself and that's helping other people. It's not like you're buying them groceries and driving them to the airport. It's like literally you're just talking and just sharing. Like you said, it's just the share. But a lot of people hold on to it for whatever reason, ego, they're ashamed or whatever it is.
Or think they're weak, right? Like they think they're going to come off as, like, I know that for me, like, especially as a man, like men, like our mental health is like so fucked up because like we think that if we share that, people are gonna think we're weak, or perceive that like we can't achieve, or that like we're a little bitch, right? Like, and but it's the exact opposite. Like it's the exact opposite when you share that and then you take a stand for people and let them know like, hey man, life gets tough and this is what it can look like sometimes, but you keep pushing, right?
And it's hard because when you are in the public eye and you're consciously sharing your very, very personal life, I feel like sometimes it's hard because there's a line, right, where it's like you also want to share the bad stuff to let people know like it's not all sunshine and rainbows, guys, but then like I'm like, oh, but maybe I should just wait until I'm in a better mindset to like cultivate some content, because I'm really like raw sometimes. Like I'm like, oh fuck it, everything, and then obviously I like pull it back, still sober, like fuck, 5 years, like I've done, like that's fun. Sometimes you just got to give yourself one of those,
but acknowledge yourself for that.
But it doesn't mean that there aren't days where I'm like, just fucking done, just done on all levels. And it's like, oh, if I put that out there, that may show someone too much weakness, and maybe that's unmotivating for them because they're like, oh, what's the fucking point? Like you're 5 years sober, you still feel like that? Like, no, thank you. Like I don't want that to happen. So then I'm like, okay, like pull together, then put content out. And I'm like, is that fake? you know, because you're not showing the real, you know, and then you see people with their phones and they're sobbing, and I'm like, I can't.
Yeah, like that's the point too. Yeah, I'm
That's
like,
part
I
of it
can't
too,
do- I
guys. But
can't do
like, just
that.
picture that. I get like that too, but I'm
Yeah.
not gonna put the
Yeah,
snot,
just not
snot boogers,
snot boogers,
and Blair
like,
Witch Projects, scary movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's a crazy world. It's just a weird landscape of social media. People take it like life or death, like it means everything. And I think it's so good just to remind yourself that it's social media usually is everybody's best day.
Yeah, it's like it's not real, right?
Yeah.
Like we're both like pretty active on social media, and it's like we both know like it's not real. It's like it's not who we are, right? Like yeah, sure, we give people a glimpse, and you know we show people our wins, and then when we share our losses, it gives strength. But like what's real is like right now,
Yeah.
right? Like this exact moment.
Is this is the podcasting? This is like one of the only true authentic, you know, and that's assuming that the guest is being or the host is being very authentic and real, but it's so much more real than one picture, one little video clip, but the caption, you know, like
Yeah.
you know, and I think a lot of podcasts you can tell when people are bullshitting you too,
Right.
you know, in the tone, the body language, everything.
He's like they don't have like a genuine and like the tough ones too, like when I hate to see when like podcasters are not really genuine about like what they're saying, and then you know because you either know them and like you hear them say something, you're like, ah, bro, you're not like that. You know, like
Yeah, they put their podcaster voice on, or yeah.
like it's just there's something so much more powerful about just getting real and raw. So when you say like you're raw dogging it, I'm like, dude, like that's what people love, right?
Yeah, it is, and I don't know. I think that I would like to show people how much better life can get, because I remember how shitty I felt in my darkest, most alcoholic, most, you know, unhealthy times. I'm like, dang, like I could not fathom being okay going a day without alcohol, like
Yeah.
maybe a week or two at the most if I had a fight coming up, you know, like, and even then, you know, before one of my best performances, I was drinking wine with an ex the day before weigh-ins.
Oh wow.
The fuck? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what is wrong with you? And then, you know, getting sober and being like, oh, this, I don't know how this can last. And now I'm just like, oh my God, like there's just no fucking way. Actually, the other day, a friend said something to me that like hurt my feelings, but I didn't say anything because I know they meant well. But we were at dinner and she said, I got a non-alcoholic beer and we made some jokes, and normally I don't even get that, you know, because it's like, what's the fucking point, you know?
Yeah.
But she said something like, oh, haha, just need to make sure that was not the real one, because I don't want to be the one that is the reason why you go back to drinking. Like basically inferring like it's gonna happen, but it's not gonna be me. And I was like,
See.
burn. You know, like she had not even accepted that like this is just the new me. She was kind of just waiting for me, like when are you gonna go back to drinking kind of situation.
Oh really?
And it's like, wow, like I created such a persona and did such crazy things, you know, for so long that it's just hard for people to fathom. And I'm like, I can fathom it.
Yeah.
But some of the people who have seen me for many, many years live a certain way. I'm like, I don't blame them.
Yeah. You know, and I love that you brought that up, because there's like I definitely have friends that like, you know, went to Vegas recently, and you know, like everyone's doing Vegas things.
Yeah, Vegas things, yeah.
Everyone's doing Vegas things, and we're hanging out, you know, on the casino floor in the room, and I'm just drinking, you know, water or, you know, soda water with lime, basically.
Yeah.
And, you know, to this day, some of them are still like, bro, like, here, are you going to take a shot? Like,
Yeah.
we're all taking a shot. And I'm
Yeah.
just like, no, dude. Like, you know, I've
Yeah.
been sober for like how many years now, motherfucker? Like, I told you, like, I don't drink no more, you know. But, you know, and I caught myself like, for a little bit, I was getting like angry with it,
Yeah.
you know, and being like, these motherfuckers just don't get it, you
Yeah.
know. But then, like, I realized like, it's almost like kind of that's how they show their love, right? Like, because when I was a drinker, like, I'd be the guy pouring shots for everybody, right? Like,
Yeah.
no, let's take shots, and you know, hugging, kissing
Yeah,
everybody, like,
yeah.
you know, alcohol spilling everywhere, and like, I was like, oh, you don't want to drink with me, like, oh, you know, like, do you not like me, you know? And
Yeah.
you know, so I made it a point to like tell them, like, dude, I love you, right? You know, and like, I don't need to drink.
Oh, that used to be your love language.
Yeah, that was my love language. Just like alcohol was, Hennessy, and any kind of whiskey, Macallan.
Yeah.
Right. Like that was my love language. So but like, I had to let my friends know. It's like, dude, like it doesn't, just because I don't want to drink with you doesn't mean that I love you any less. Right. Like I'm still here for you. Like, and if you want to stop drinking, I can help you with that too. Right. But I'm not going to sit here and judge you either. Right. But I know that this isn't the best you, So yeah, I've just been I've been like trying to recreate like what fun looks like, and how I can still like, because when we hang out with people that don't drink, like we can still have fun, go rock climbing, go surfing, all this stuff. But then like when I hang out with some of my other friends that still are heavily into their drinking, like I still want to hang out with them and show them that I care and love them, because I know that they still genuinely love and care for me too.
Yeah.
But like being around the booze is just one of those things. It's like I think still recreating that.
A good rule for me, it's like I'll still go to the event, right? Whether it's a comedy show or a concert, or I really won't just go to the bar, unless maybe like a friend is having a thing or something. But it, for the most part, it's like an event is happening, right? And I'll go to the event, but pretty much like right after the event, I'll bounce, because if people are drinking during the event, after the event, that's when all shit happens. And that's when they go from being like buzzed to like sloppy drunk. Right. And I'm just that person that I don't care how sober I am for how long, like I can't stand sloppy drunk people.
Yeah, I usually bounce out by that time too.
So
once like the partying goes from downstairs back up to the room or wherever, and then like it's just like it's past, like it hits 2:00.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, we're gonna go after party. I'm like, and they just can't even. They're not even making sense anymore.
Yeah.
Their mouth is it's like, okay, I gotta go. I'm tired.
We'll use our dog's at home. I'm like, damn, I wish we had kids right now.
Yeah.
But gotta let our dog out.
Yeah. That's actually, that has been my son has saved me in those instances and so many times, because I'm like, oh, we got to get back to the kids. We got to take care of them. We got a game in the morning. We had a question come in, and the question is, what is the best way to approach someone that has an alcohol problem and urge them to get help? So what is the best way to approach someone that has an alcohol problem and you want to urge them to get help?
Man,
I love that question.
I would let you take the lead on this one. This one's actually really hard for me.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So I got a bunch of alcoholic friends. So I am, you are who you hang out with, right? So a lot of my friends are alcoholics, and I tell them to their face, we all are self-admitted alcoholics, right? And one of the things that I do to approach them is I just let them know, like, hey man, I love you, right? And I make sure to not cast judgment, right? Because I think a lot of times, when you tell somebody, hey man, you got to get sober, like you're fucking up in life, right? Like that's casting judgment.
Yeah.
But if you come from a place of love, you let somebody know, like, hey dude, I just want you to know that, like, I feel like you could be so much better. You're not living to your full potential, and it hurts me to see you not be the best version of you when I know you can be.
Yeah.
And if you come from a place of love and not judgment, whenever you're trying to talk to somebody about any type of, addiction or whatever it may be, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's always the best way to approach somebody about it. I don't know, how do you feel about it?
That's great. That's such good insight, because it's not even really what you say sometimes, it's how you say it, right?
Yes.
I think that's what we should focus on. That's a great question. Because you may not have the perfect words. It is hard to verbalize it, but just approaching it with the mindset, like, I just want to help this person because I love them, I think it's going to come out. You may fumble your words, or it doesn't, maybe you don't say exactly the perfect thing, but the person is going to feel what you're trying to convey if you come at it from a place of love, like what you said. That makes so much sense. But I'm over here thinking as you're speaking, and I'm like, oh, man, I had so many coaches for many years tell me, like, I love you. Mm-hmm. I want more for you. And I think you can be a champion. Mm-hmm. Just stop fucking drinking.
Yeah.
And they were coming from places of love, and other people in my lives too, not just coaches. And there's just that phrase, it's unless someone's really ready to quit, you can't
Right.
you can't force someone to want to stop drinking, right?
Exactly.
But to answer that question, I think coming at approaching it from a place of love, and maybe just focusing on the fact that they can be so much more, so much happier, whatever they're struggling with, whether it's financially, romantically. I have not a lot of, but I have a couple girlfriends that, are talking to me about dating and what it's like out there and stuff. But, I feel like it's hard to tell them like, hey, if you weren't sloppy drunk or meeting these guys in bars or, whatever it is. But, it's such a hard topic because people can get so offended so easily. And you may end up doing the opposite of what you intend to do, right?
Yeah.
You want to help them and love them and bring them closer to you, but you're going to push them farther away because they get offended and whatnot. But
Absolutely.
it's a risk that you got to be willing to take if you love that person, right? Because if you don't say anything, then you're just an enabler. And as someone who had a lot of enablers in their life, I would rather you be a real friend.
Yeah.
Give it to me harsh, hit me with the truth, you beautiful bitch, or whatever.
I love that because there's this saying that I heard from Patrick Bet-David, and he goes, you may hate me temporarily, but you're going to love me forever because no one's going to push you as hard as I'm going to push you, right? And there's so much truth behind that because like you were just saying, right? Like how many times have we been enablers in our life? How many times have we been surrounded by enablers where I know that I was acting a fool, being not the best me, out somewhere drunk and around people that I could tell were probably uncomfortable and like wanted to tell me like, hey, you should get sober, motherfucker, but didn't want to because they didn't want me to not like them probably, or they didn't want to like feel like they were like being offensive.
Yeah.
And it's true. It's like, you have to let the person know that you love them when you approach them, and then you have to also let them know that they're not being judged, right? And then also don't have attachment. Like if there's another recommendation I would give is don't have attachment to the outcome, right? Like don't have an expectation that like, okay, once I do this, like they're going to start getting sober, right? Like I plenty of people have told me to get sober for years when I was in my heyday, right? But I never did, right? But I didn't do it until I was ready.
Yeah.
Right. So for whoever it is, going back to the person that asked the question, like whoever it is that you're planning on approaching, if it's someone that's like a family member or someone that you love and care about, and you have to you're like you have to be around for the rest of your life, and you're approaching them because you know that this is something that's affecting you, like you have to make them aware of that, of like how it's affecting you, but also let them understand that like, or you have to understand that they're going to do it on their own accord. Like, you can't help someone unless they're willing to help themselves.
Yeah. When you say that, like I'm smiling only because I flash to those funny scenes in movies where it's like an intervention.
Yeah.
And it's like, you have affected me in the following ways, and it's like this. And I'm like, thank God I never got one of those. It'd just be like a packed room, nuts to butts, everybody like with their fucking scrolls, like, this is how you have affected me. And I'm like, okay. But no, it is along the same lines of like, come in with love, explain, why it's kind of an issue, right? Like how it's affected. And then one thing I'll add is, I don't think it's good to add ultimatums, even though
that's 100% correct.
I was given an ultimatum and it really shook me to my core, to be honest. So fuck, maybe they do work, but maybe I would have done it without the ultimatum. Who knows? But
well, it depends on who's delivering it, right? Like if your spouse was like, look, if you don't get sober, I'm leaving you, right? Like that's an ultimatum.
Yeah.
But also you can't get mad at them for like wanting to leave you because you're not being your best self, like every person is allowed to have their own feelings about something, right? But
I only say don't give ultimatums because it could push the person farther away. honestly, in my mind and in my heart, like ultimatums like need to be given at certain points. Like you said, it's like a spouse, this is the fucking line. I don't have to be with you. I choose to be with you. So let's have a happy life, or, you know, like whatever the situation is. But yeah, I think ultimatums actually express how bad it's gotten, right?
Yeah.
Like it's so hard though, because it's different people are affected by hearing different things, right? Like everybody's rock bottom is different.
Yes.
You know, unfortunately, you know, TM, like a lot of this is very personal, but just like my mother losing her children and all these bad things happening to her, that was not her rock bottom, you know, or whoever, you know, it's like, where is your rock bottom? You know, like for me, like my friend giving me an ultimatum, you know, whether, you know, if you don't get sober, I can't be your friend kind of anymore, you know, situation was like, because friends to me, you know, like family. So that was like, it shook me. So it kind of worked, you know, but yeah, it's such a great question. It's such a great question because it's something that a lot of people want to do, but sometimes they end up not doing it for fear.
Yeah. And if you're going to give the ultimatum, like you need to, like you have to follow through with it.
Yeah, that's so bad, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I've given ultimatums to other people and then like didn't fall through, and I'm like, well, that just makes me look stupid. Yeah.
Right. And then whatever your ultimatum is, like make sure it's something where you're still supporting them in a way that's not crossing your own personal boundaries, right? It's like, I'm leaving you if you don't get sober, but I'll still always be here for you when you decide to.
Yeah.
Right. Like when you decide that you're ready for me to help you, I will be here to help and support you and help you get sober, but you got to want it. I can't want it more than you do.
Yeah.
You know, like that's
really nice. That's really nice. I am thinking about my own individual experience, and I remember thinking to myself, and I did have someone in my life at the time who I loved and cared for, but was on their own individual alcoholic journey, right? And I remember thinking, I cannot help anyone right now. I have to put my oxygen mask on first.
Yes.
And
absolutely.
And I like looked at that person, loved that person, but was like, is every man for themselves right now, you know? And that was one of the hardest things I ever did because I love so hard, you know? And I am a loyal person, and it's like, you have to choose yourself, whether it's a friend, family, love, whatever, you know? And when you choose yourself, then you can like, oh, okay, I'm good, however long, you know, and then go back for help later, you know, I'll return for help, you know, let me get my shit straight. And you run and you come back, you know, I'm okay.
But it's real though, right? Like it's real. Like as a parent, like, you know, that when you hear the thing on the airplane, they're like, put your oxygen mask on first and then help the kid. And it's like, it's so true. Because if you think about it, like if you're trying to put the oxygen mask on your kid while shit's going down, and then you pass out, like you're going to go down, and then now your kid's going to go down because, you know, you didn't properly put it on their face, right? So it's like, you got to secure yourself first, you know, and in your heart, and make sure you're good, and then you can give that to other people.
It's like what you were saying when we first started this podcast about the totem pole.
Yes.
You said, you know, self, and then you said, don't tell me. Then did you say sobriety?
Spouse.
Okay, spouse. But here's a new totem pole. It's self and sobriety. Because if you don't have sobriety, none of these totem poles are going to be okay. Just like what we were talking about. If the spouse is not good, all the other shit. Oh, sorry. But, you know, for me and the rest of us alcoholics, it's, I think we're fully aware that the sobriety has to come first.
Yeah.
And it just has to, you know, and for partners who are not struggling with addiction themselves, it's so hard to understand, right? Because it's like, no, I'm, you know, or whatever it is, but it's like, that's one of those things, right? Where it's like, unless you're an alcoholic, you'll never understand what that truly means, right? Like if I don't have my sobriety, I don't have anything.
And there's so many different, like it can be more than just sobriety too, right? For it's not the same thing for everybody. Some people it's addiction to something, right? Everybody's got their vice, right? Whether it's like, you know, fucking food,
sex,
right? Yeah, porn.
Oh, porn, yeah.
Like,
big one, yeah.
A huge one.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, everyone has something that's not serving them. And, you know, shout out to my friend Casey DeVault. You know, he called me one day and was like, hey, what's not serving you? And I was like, what? I was like, well, I don't know. I think I'm doing pretty good, dude. Like, I was already sober by that time, like, or getting sober, and I was like, hey, I'm not drinking anymore. Like, I'm good, dude. Like, I don't know what else you want from me, bro. Like, almost getting defensive, right?
Yeah.
And then he's like, no, he's like, something's not serving you. And he's like, so I had to like figure out what that was, but like having the humility to like look in the mirror and say, okay, what do not necessarily like jab holes in like what's wrong with you and get into like self beat up, but just making sure that you're taking account for all your shit and be like, okay, am I being the best person today, right? Like, am I doing right by the people that I love and I care about? Like, am I being the best that I can be, and no one can answer that other than yourself.
Yeah.
Right. So we all have that. Like, I can't tell you what that is, right? Like, you only know, right? What's not serving you. And same thing for me. Like,
Yeah.
I know the things that I do that don't serve me. Like, if my OCD kicks in and the house isn't clean and I'm like looking at dishes and then I start getting all aggro and like getting mad at everybody else.
So
and,
what? Okay. I'm so happy
aggressively washing dishes.
I'm so happy you said that, because I have not had a chance to talk to another alcoholic about this.
Yeah.
5 years now, and it's gone pretty bad the last couple of years, where like if things are not clean in my house and put in their place, I can't
Yes.
leave. And then I also become agitated, not really at my partner, but like, at first you get agitated with your partner, and then I just decided like, okay, I'm not going to get agitated with him anymore. I'm just going to put things in their place.
Right.
So then I've become this weird little OCD person that's just constantly putting things in their right, and I'm like, I was never like
Yes.
this. I was never,
Yeah.
I wasn't like a slob, but I just didn't give two shits if the cup was over here or if it was over
Right,
here,
right.
like, and now why do I, to the point where I'm like, okay, I know this is not like an issue, but these are little quirks that now make up the new Ashlee. And I'm like, this is weird. Like, what? So what the hell? What is that
I think
about?
it's that like drinking is numbing, right? So like so whenever you're feeling anxiety or angry about something, like, okay, fuck, let me just get a beer, right?
Yeah.
And then let me get a shot, and then you numb yourself, and then you don't think about it anymore. So when you stop drinking, you're hyper present to everything, and so now you're like, fuck, I'm thinking of all the things now. I'm seeing all
Yeah.
the things, and you're looking around, and you're like, fuck, dishes aren't clean, shit's not right, you're scrubbing, God forbid you were doing something else, then you're really like
Yeah.
any other drugs, then you're really like scrubbing shit, But I think that roots from like needing to take control, right? So like when you're obsessed, when your OCD kicks in, like for me, when my OCD kicks in, it kicks in like right around the time I have anxiety over something like the unknowns, right? Like, oh shit, what is tomorrow going to bring? If there's uncertainty with work or, business or something, like I feel the need to go to something that I can control, right? Fix something. I'm like, okay, this is broken. Let me fix this right here. Dishes are dirty. Okay, let me wash the dishes, right? And that like, it's like it's like an incessant like little tick that I get that I know when it kicks in, I'm now in a place where I'm like, okay, am I really upset that the fucking dishes are dirty? And like, am I mad at everybody for being, slobs in the house? Or is this just me and my quirks right now, right? Like, do I just need to get right with whatever it is I'm feeling inside that's making me feel this way,
I'm just so happy you shared that, because I thought I was crazy.
Right?
Like, dude, what the fuck? And like, oh God, this is a perfect example of how sharing just makes you feel so much better. Like, you
Yes.
sharing your story, I'm like, okay, like, this is something that popped up for me. And then I was like, was this always the real me? And I was just drinking it away? Or is this still something that I'm, like you said, you do it to regain control during a time of unease, basically, right? Just so beautiful that at 3 years sober, you're thinking so deeply about why you do stuff. I think there's a lot of people out there that are sober, not saying they're like white knuckling it. Maybe they're in the program still. I don't know, right? But you just don't ask the why. And obviously the why is everything.
Yeah.
With therapy, with like addiction, with like why the fuck are you doing this? Like, why?
Right.
And it's hard to figure out. But like, just the fact that you're asking yourself at 3 years is so good. It's so good, because maybe you don't figure it out but at least you're trying, you know, you're making a conscious effort to be like, okay, why am I like this?
Yeah.
You know, like,
And that's
please.
like, that goes back to what isn't serving you, right? Like
Yeah.
that, like having that OCD and like obsessing over shit, you know, and getting mad at everyone around me and blaming them, pointing the finger, like it's because of you that I'm feeling this way. Like, no, I'm feeling this way because I made myself
Yeah.
feel this way, right?
Yeah, I'm at, thank God I'm at a point where I don't blame anybody, but I'm also just like confused, like, why do I like this, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's definitely better than drinking and, you know, numbing everything and sloppy and all that. But I'm also not at the point that I feel the master of my emotions, right?
Yes.
Like, no one gives a fuck if the dog food thing is over, you know, like, and that's
Yeah.
not going to make my, actually what's going to make my day better is if I cared less,
Yeah.
you know? So now I'm on my journey of like, okay, cool, we're living right, but like, I want to be, you know, more chill with things.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't know how to put it any better than that. But, you know, I just want to care the right amount because I feel like I'm such an extremist, you know? It's like, okay, if I put my mind on something, whether it's this small little OCD task, it's just like all or nothing. And it's just like, okay, like finding balance, I guess is what it comes down to, right?
Right,
Like just
right.
balance with everything. And it's a great place to be, but it's so good to hear another person say that you feel like that because yeah, I hadn't talked to another person
Yeah.
about that. And like, literally, I'm like, oh, it's OCD. That's, you know, I'm not diagnosed, you know, but I diagnosed myself.
Yeah.
And my partner has diagnosed me too, because he's like, why do my things have a place to you? You know, I'm like, I don't know. They just do.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I know exactly how you feel. But also, hey, sometimes it's okay to have shit just be clean. All right, guys?
Well, I mean, I think I'm a very efficient person. I think like I consider everything like, okay, like it's taking this much time to do this. You know, that's why
Yeah.
I'm so productive is because I think and plan. And then if things are out of place,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this is taking time away from what we can be doing. You know, I'm like, so
Right.
put it back in its place so that we can always just know exactly where it's at.
Right, right. And sometimes growth, you know, like as much as that is like a powerful tool to like push you to always be better, sometimes growth, you just have to allow things to get messy.
Yeah.
You know, like you just gotta just let things get messy and don't be obsessed with what the outcome is going to be, you know. And
Yeah.
sometimes the most beautiful pieces of art, the most beautiful creations come with just like, you know what, just go with the flow and just like let it, as long as you are living in this moment and putting good energy towards what it is that you're trying to create, right? Like something great will come out of it,
Yeah.
you know.
It's hard for me to do that, even though I understand, like, that's what I want to, that's what I aspire to feel like, right? Where I do it, but don't set this expectation on myself. And then if I don't meet it, feel bad about it. Cause that's where I'm at right now. It's like, whatever I do, I'm like, okay, then I set a goal for myself. And if I don't reach that goal, I feel bad about it, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so,
Self-beat up.
yeah. So I'm forever just setting these crazy high goals, not meeting them and feeling shitty about myself, but also still doing cool shit along the way, but not reaping any of the emotional highs.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that sucks.
Well, I think I was listening to a Rogan episode with Goggins on there.
Okay.
And he was talking about how like you know Goggins,
Yeah.
right? Like he's
Mental freak.
yeah, mental freak, always pushing himself, like never, you know, he is never like settling. And he was talking about how like he got these awards and accolades, right? And his biggest regret was just like not acknowledging it, you know? He was just like, yeah, okay, cool, I got this award. So what, motherfuckers? Let's keep pushing.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Stay
yeah.
hard, motherfuckers.
Yeah,
You know, which
yeah.
is cool.
I like it. Cool,
Right.
yeah.
And I love it because it makes you better, but
Yeah.
also you get to acknowledge yourself and give yourself a little pat on the back.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? 3 years sobriety. Good job. Hey, 5 years sobriety. Good
Yeah.
job. You know what? You set out what you know what you're going to do, but not to get confused with settling, right?
Yeah.
Like, and being like, okay, cool, I made it. Now let's kick back, you know?
Yeah.
Like, no, always keep pushing forward. But once you hit those like markers, like give yourself a little bit of grace, take a moment to pause and say, you know what? You did great today.
Yeah.
Love yourself.
Yeah.
Right. And then keep going.
Yeah, clearly I still battle with the self-love thing because it
Totally.
you know,
Same here.
if it's that hard to just give myself a little kindness and appreciation, I'm like,
Yeah.
because you know, it's, and something that gets me in the right mindset is like treat yourself as you would your partner, right? And I'm like, oh, I treat my partner, you know, like so much love, so much, you know, like he does something, I'm like, you're amazing, you know, that I do something, I'm like, I'm shit, you know, like,
Well, like I didn't like the way it looked right there.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like sometimes I have to like treat myself as if I would a friend, you know, self-talk. Like that's something I struggle with.
Yes.
The self-talk, because I know how we talk about ourselves internally is, you know, projected outwardly, and I'm like, change that.
Yep. Absolutely. 100%. This was so great.
I loved it.
Awesome. Thank you again for being here and putting this together. And you know, I love that we're doing this, and so excited for what the future brings. And yeah, so grateful.
I'm grateful too. It's a collective. It's, you know, Kanna Beast Studio. It's you. It's Lance, David over there.
The entire team. Shout out to the entire team. But yeah, super excited. Thank you again.
Yeah, awesome.
ya.
Great podcast. Love you.
All right, later, guys.
What a great extra question.